to officially welcome you on this beautiful morning on behalf of the Academic Association of Faculty of Architecture, together with my colleagues who I work with intensely. We organize lectures about architecture to promote new views, discussion, expand knowledge, and learn about the design process. Of course, this wouldn't be possible without our media partners that helped us greatly to promote this event, for which we are very honored. If you would like to support us yourself, you may consider becoming one of our patrons on Patronite. The link will be put in the description of the stream. This morning, we are joined by Mr. Ryo Abe, an architect and the founder of the AARA studio, which operates in Tokyo. He designs public and residential buildings, combining the originality of his ideas and forms with timeless Japanese architecture. Please do feel welcome to ask any questions you may have. Mr. Abe will answer them during the Q&A at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to the Vice Dean on the Science and Development, Ms. Krystyna Solarek.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really a great pleasure to welcome everyone at this meeting with excellent and experienced architect Ryo Abe. On behalf of the Dean of the Faculty of Architecture of the Warsaw University of Technology, which is the co-organizer of this series of lectures and meetings, and of course in my own, I welcome first of all Mr. Ryo Abe. It's really nice to have you with us. We are really grateful that you wanted to meet our students, our graduates. Many thanks also to the association and all those who are with us today. So I wish you a successful meeting and an interesting discussion. And I give the floor, or rather the screen, to Mr. Ryo Abe. Please start.
Thank you very much. This is Ryo Abe, and thank you very much for inviting me for the lecture. I'm an architect, and I started my own office almost 25 years ago. And every time I'm giving a lecture to the students of the university, I starting the topic of what is architecture and what is architect. That is always my question. And I've never learned how to be an architect or what is an architect is in a university. We learned what is architecture, but nobody told me how to be an architect. And I still searching for, and I'm not for sure I'm being an architect or not. So I always looking for the answer of this question. And after the pandemic, there's a lot of things that we really rethink the meaning, and maybe this is a good time to rethink about what is architecture and what is an architect. So maybe this is not a good time that we can share the idea. So first I will explain you my idea what is an architect now, what is an architecture. So after my lecture, please give me your questionnaire or your opinion, and we can discuss the opinion. That's going to be a good learning timing for me too. So please share the moment with me. So I'm gonna share my screen, or can you share the screen? Can you see the screen? Okay. I'm going to start the topic of the what is the house, because I started my office with the house project most of the time, and now I have some public buildings too, but first 10 years I only have the public house projects. So I had a lot of time to think about what the house is, and there's so many opinion what is a house, and difficult to say the answer. So today I would explain some of my thought that how to design the house. So through my opinion, you can think about what is the house. And then every time I designing the house, I start asking that wishing list of my clients, because I think the house should represent the character of each families, and each family should have different idea of their what is the house. Maybe they have different unique request of what is the house. But I recognize almost all the family ask me same requirement. You can think about what your request for your design of your house. Maybe you cannot think something very unique. So I changed my mind at not asking only that request, but I ask my clients to make a wishing list from their highest priority to the lowest priority. And that I said that the most of the requirement is the same, but the priority of the request is totally different, depends on the families. And I thought that is a unique point. So I usually design the house through their wishing list, so that and try to make the uniqueness of the clients and designing the house, which representing the uniqueness of the clients. And so I will show you today I'll show the two houses for the two families. One of the first house is I designed the house in the center of the Tokyo. The family is that with the 4 people. The wife of this family is that designer, bag design, shoe design, or those kind of designer. And the husband is supporting her business, and they have 2 boys. And they used to live in a very big apartment, and that apartment have their own private garden, but they recognize that the house is too big for them, because they think that they're pretty much spending their time in the city. They spend most of the time in the office or restaurant or cafe, and the boys spending most of the time in the school. And after school, they go to the gym, or they going to another school to learn, or they going to play with their friends. They never come back to their house before the dinner time. So they thought, why do we need such a big house, not using so much time? And they thought maybe maybe we should buy some small profit in the center of Tokyo, and to customize some house or ask the design of the house customized, very suitable for their lifestyle. So the requirement of this family is the house that they can feel that they are living inside the city. And the house continuously next to the city, or in the city. And from the house, maybe they can feel the city, and from the city, they can see their own house inside the house. And there's another lot of requirement, because the housewife is a designer. She has so many archives, and she cannot store it away. So she needs a lot of spaces for the archives. And she said this is the the most important priority, to keep her archives in the house. And the next priority is they wanted to have 2 cars. So they needed a parking lot for the 2 cars. Their property is so small, and if I designed the 2 car parking, there's not such place for the living space. So that this, you can see this section, that the ground floor, there's a space for the car parking, and up above they have their own house, and the center is kind of the space of, the core is kind of space for the archiving, the design history. And she also said that if it's possible, she still want to have some garden. She had so much cactus that in their old apartment, she want to remove the cactus in the space. So the first ground floor is almost like the garden and storage and parking. That almost all the living space is floated up above. And this is the plan. And first floor plan. I said first floor plan. It's like a ground floor plan in Europe, and in Japan we say the first floor for the ground floor. So you think that the second floor is the first floor for you. Okay, so the first floor is the 2 car parking place and approach and some garden and some storage and the bathroom. The second floor is like a small bedroom for the 2 kids and the parents, and third floor is a living space. It's also small, but they have kitchen and dining and living space, and the top floor is the bathroom. They really wanted to have very cozy, intimate interior, but it doesn't feel like interior. So this is how I designed. I forgot something, one more thing, that when I check in the ground, we find out this property has a very weak soil. So we needed to put a very long pile instead of having the foundation. So we needed to have the steel pile, and it's very costly. So we decided not to have the usual concrete foundation. We refused it, but we put some steel light foundation. Then we decided all the structure as a steel structure. This is a site when we checking the ground strength and putting the steel pile, and also you can see this is the surroundings. And this is the when we're making foundation and making the structure. It's the steel structure, and you can see that the big steel plate as a core. This is a core, and that all the structure is a steel. And this idea that the housewife was really excited, and she loves it so much because she's a designer. She likes the material of the steel. And during the construction site period, that the steel structure is getting rusty. It's usual. And after during the construction period, we of course painted with some stain. But housewife, she refused it. She likes it. So because she's a designer, she wanted to feel that this material texture inside the house. So we decided to keep it. Of course, the outside of the house, I put the paint with this stain, but the inside, it's not really bad condition for the structure. It's gradually rust and maybe get damaged, but maybe it's like a 1 millimeter for both sides. So we asked the structure engineer to make that this kind of steel panel a little bit thicker than usual. So we put more stain for that buffer of the time ruiningness. So this is some idea from the request of the clients. And after the finishing, of course, it's covered by very nice cladding of the metal sheet. And this is the house it looks like. And this is a nighttime. You can see pretty much inside of the house. And the first ground floor is almost nothing. You know that these edges you can have the cactus afterwards, because this house has no concrete foundation. This is ground, exposed ground. So you can put the plants, and its plants will grow up very nicely. And that this is a staircase. This is the second floor, the first floor in Europe. And this is the bedroom of the children. She said that the bedroom can be very, very small, so that this small room is that each small, pocket is the bedroom for each boys. They have only this property, but boys have a very big tables for the study table. But actually, they don't study in a house. They study at the cafe, or they study in a library, and they come back after the study. So this is a place for this sleep for the boys. And the back of this core, there is a lost. Sorry that I lost the channel. Okay, this is the back of the bedroom. This is the storage for the dressing for the parents, and this is the study table for everybody. And this is the second floor for the living space and dining space. And this is a kitchen, and this is a living space. And top of the room is the bathroom. You can climb up the staircase, and this is the bathroom. And the bathroom is transparent, actually. And so that this is also the request of the housewife, that she wanted to be naked and see the skies of and see the scenery of the Tokyo when she's having a bathing. But actually, I was kind of afraid that if the neighbors would see that her naked, but actually from the design of the house, it's hardly see from the outside. And this is the dining space seen from the top floor. So you can see that the neighbor's car through the dining space, and they can feel like they're eating the breakfast just inside the city. And this is a living space, very cozy, but also that the scenery or landscape of the living space is just in the middle of the city. And this is the nighttime from the city, so that you can see pretty much inside the house, but you can hardly see the people. I mean, because this is a design that there's a big void and then a big open windows, so that the people can not see from the outside. But of course, people can very closely come to the window and say hi to the neighbors. But that is something they are wishing to live inside the house. So that this house is pretty much presenting their lifestyle, and they likes this house very much. And that neighbors are just surprising this house, and their neighbors are just surprising actually when they're visiting their house, that the clients are very happy about this house. So that is kind of surprising thing for the neighbors. And this is another house. This is a house for the 3 people, and the husband is the book designer, and that they decide to change that. They used to live a very center of Tokyo, but this family decide to move out of Tokyo, decide to move to some place very natureful environment, because they decide that the place for that it might be suitable for their boys to grow up not inside the city but in the nature. And they bought some plot with a very old house in the mountain area. There's so many bushes and very big trees, and the sounds of the wind is very, very nice. But because this house is pretty much abandoned, so that and also that a lot of greens on the roof of the house, and a lot of that condition was not super nice. So the clients was a little bit wondering if they would like to buy this profit, and so invited me to check this land, and I immediately say this is a perfect place for them. And because They have their own wish lists, and one of the highest priority things was that he is the designer, so he's working in the house, so he stays in the house most of the day, and wife don't like him to walking in the house, so she wants him to have some like a place to work, not inside of the house. But this husband don't want it to have the very clear borderline between the working space and the living space, because he loved to cook very much, and he loved to do like a house things during his working place time. So we have to design some place which has its own working place, but it's not really clear bordered. So from this request, I start design the house. So that this is the plan of the what I designed. This is a plan of the existing house in top corner. You can see there's a entrance here, but they refuse to have clear entrance. They don't really need a clear borderline, not only between the working place to the living place, but they don't really need a borderline from neighborhood and their own profit, because the surrounding of this house is full of nature. So and neighborhood people is also very calm people, so they don't really like to feel like refusing anything. So they ask me to design a place they can appreciate all the environment. Or environment means that the bushes of the neighbors, or tall trees, or sound of the wind, or rain, or sunshine, or stars, or moon, of course. So I mostly design the deck or terrace around the houses, and try to make all the space continuously that the people can walking around. So that this is a small container I added on this site. So this is going to be a space for the client, the space for the husband to work. And this is a kitchen, this is the main space, his favorite place. So he's walking around this route, or he can also come from this area or from this side, or children can walking around this area, or housewife can stay here, or there's a lot of escape area. And there's a wall between each rooms for the existing house, but I take off the big walls between the two rooms, and try to make all the rooms in one big space. Then this is a section, not only the space of the existing house, but with the relationship between the two, container and existing house. I try to make some very smooth connection between two buildings, so that the husband can move from their office to the house very smoothly, so he will do not feel any stress of the borders, or of the two areas. So that this house is very much like that. This kind of seamless space, continuous space, is the most important theme of this design. And this is after the design. I put some kind of the little fence, but this is like a wood fence, and you can see through the landscape of behind the architecture. So this is functionally, it's like a fence or like a handrail of the deck terrace, but visually it's allowing the continuous or borderless relationship between the neighbors and the house. And that I would have to say that the color of this house, I asked that the husband house husband to decide the color, because he's a designer. He can design something very nice. And this is the gray, but with a little bit of the green and yellow inside. So it's very grayish green, and it changed the color time by time. Like a daytime, it's like a almost like a moss green, or like almost like a blue sometimes. And it's very nice condition when you see from the trees behind the houses. This is nighttime, and I put all the roof in the middle of the house, and then I removed that cladding, and I changed to glasses to make the top light of the. And this is the kind of strong request of the housewife, that she wanted to feel that nature inside the house. So this is the interior of this house when it's finished. I actually cover almost all the walls by plywood to give them more strength of the house, reinforce the house. The plywood just kind of works for the structure of the adding structure of this house, and also pour the concrete for the floors to also make more strength for this house. And I did only that. I didn't do any finish of this house because family wanted to do the finish of this house by themselves. So I think this is good that they will paint house with the boys, and they can change the finish of the interior time to time. And this is another side, and you can see that top light area, and also you can see that outside of the house. And I hide all the frame of the windows inside the wall. So when you open the screens, when you open the windows, you almost feel like there's no window in this house. You see another angle. You can also feel this. Pretty much, this house is like continuously continue to the outside. There's another angle. From all the window, you can see the greens. It is very nice. And also from the top roof windows, so you can see the skies. And I also extend the awning outside the house, a little bit overlapping the terrace, and adding more space for the family to appreciate the neighborhood. And this is a container adding working space. And when you open the window of door of the container, it's almost together with the outside. And there's some fabric roofs that people can appreciate the outside space, just like a living area. And this is outside. This looks like a little bit more like a greenish in the daytime, and this is that after that the family moved into this house. And probably this is that photograph of after the 1 year of the finishing this house. There are a lot of interiors. There's furnitures and chairs and books you can see, and interior space changed so much. And for me, this is surprising. They designing the space very much with their furnitures and with their belongings. And I feel that the space is very lively because of the clients' things. From out of the window, you can see a lot of branches, and that is because of this fireplace. And the husband really enjoyed it, using the fireplace. And after moving into this house, husbands sometimes working as a gardener. he visiting the big house with the big garden, and he cut the trees, branches, and then he bring back those branches and for his fireplace, and it really makes sense for him to adding another occupation, so that changing the house and the changing lifestyle means that sometimes changing the occupation or adding more occupations. And he said that this experience of being a gardener, that gives another passions and another ideas for his book designing, so that his designing is actually more getting more idea or more unique because of this house. So that, I mean, and also another view, there's you can see that the connection between this house and the container working space, it's almost like one room or one house or one building. And so, and this house was just completed before the pandemic. So after the pandemic, or during the pandemic, still we are during the pandemic, there's a lot of magazines and a lot of people visiting this house to share these photos and interview for to the clients. And clients change the location of the living space, but this is totally changing his lifestyle. And that, so that the meaning of the house is sometimes, I think, that the meaning of the life or lifestyle. I'm learning from that, from this example. And this is how he's working in the house. And there's a bicycle of his boy. That means that the boy is probably playing around this area somewhere. And yeah, you can see the computer on the desk of the terrace, outside terrace. So he's now actually having more space for the working, and also this is used as a housewife too, so that his working style is also changing. So that this is the evening time, that outside wall looks a little bit more dark, and it's really changing that scenery. And that it's, I think this kind of color is representing the changing of his lifestyle itself. And that mean, I really like these pictures that I mean, house might be like a good opportunity. Designing a house might be a good opportunity for the family to changing their lifestyle. So that I said that before starting lecture, I said I asked that the lifestyle of the family, and I designed the house suitable for this house. But now I'm saying that designing a house might be an opportunity of the designing the house, I mean the family lifestyle. So it's like a opposite things I'm saying. So I think really a timing of the rethinking of the meaning of the house, and the rethinking of the meaning of the family through the house project. This is a night view, and you can see that light coming out from the top light. That means that the people can see that the moon from the top light is really like a good marriage of the landscape and the living area. And I would like to explain another project, which is that one of our favorite projects, starting in 2010 and still ongoing project, called Shima Kitchen. This is the location is called Teshima. It's inside the inland sea of Japan, and next to Teshima, there's a very famous island, Naoshima. Naoshima is famous with the art tourism island. And now around this area, there is the international art festival is held once in a years. It was starting in 2010. And before this art festival, Teshima is one of the most famous island about industrial waste. I mean, Teshima is a very, very beautiful island. Meaning of Teshima is a rich island because there's a lot of crops and the rice and the vegetables and the fruits they can produce in this island. So they can survive only in this island, so that the people call this island rich island Teshima. But around about 50 years ago, some people brought a lot of industrial waste in this island and throw it away. And local government could not stop it, so that the island people fight against to the local governments about the to keep their nature. And this they fight with the court, so that the this news was very sensational, and everybody in Japan got to know about this island. And that island people, inhabitants, win the court, and they that the court decided the local government to take away all the waste, and it was successful. But because of this news that nobody in Japan would buy that any products from this island. There's a lot of nice strawberries, but they cannot sell their strawberry as the Shima made. They put this strawberry to the neighbor's name. So this really hurt the pride of the people. So to regain the pride of the people, the local government decide to start the Setochi art triennale in 2010. But the first moment, it was very hard because there's so much long time that I mean, almost like 50 years that local people fight against the local government, so they cannot collaborate very easily. So that director of the art festival came to me to asking me to design some venue to have the good marriage of the local people and artists and art festival, to invite the people, guests from the out of the island. So I start researching the island, researching the community, researching the village, and I find that one big house, vacant house, it was not used for almost like 50 years. So I decided this might be a very good place to design some venue to invite some people. And I asked the director, what's the function of this venue? And the director said that I can decide what to do. You can design the art, you can design the architecture, you can design whatever, but please design some venue to have the very good marriage of the people. So I thought I should design something beyond the architecture. Maybe I should design something like these 2 persimmon trees, because when I visited this site, there's a local old people gathering around this tree and having a chat. So maybe this tree is a very symbolic things to invite the people. So if I design some like something 10 times bigger than big trees around these big trees, so then inviting people to this site, maybe that local people can join this project and they can invite people from outside. So I start designing some big roof around this 2 persimmon tree. And then I thought maybe this might be some kind of the theater. That might be interesting, because director said that it might be very successful if the local island and the guests from the outside and also artists, they dance together inside this in this garden. So I thought, well, maybe nice to have the outside theater, and that I designed this venue based on the Japanese traditional no theater. it is originally performed the performance inside the nature traditionally. So I, basing on this traditional theater, but adapt into the modern design and possible to do any kind of the performance art. And that my partner, structural engineer, Mitsuhiro Kanada, he suggests me to use the water pipe as a main structure because this is isolated island and they don't have any construction company. So we have to find the material that can be able to find inside this isolated island. And the water pipe you can find everywhere that the people are living. So and also it's like a zinc plated, so we don't really have to paint. And so we decide to use the water pipe, very thin. It's like a 32 millimeter water pipe for the main structure, and the main beam we use the 27 millimeter water pipes, and we used some kind of joints, and we used the foundation which is used for the greenhouse of the agricultural glass house. So we adapt a lot of material and the techniques not used for the architecture usually, but try to make some kind of shelter or roof or sunshade like things. But structural engineer, calculate the structural engineer with a very complicated system that they use with the Arab. And then we completed the roofs. I use this material which is used for the cladding of the house around this house, around this area. I put the roof, I tied this charboned wood panel to this water pipe with plastic strings, so with only 2 points, so that if there's a strong wind comes, this roof will be flatter like a bird wing, so that there is no side impact or wind impact comes to this roof. So the structure could be very, very thin like this. You can see the detail. There's a lot of black things on the steel rod. This is the plastic tie that I explained. And I try to design the roof as low as possible because I don't want to disturb the environment of this intimate village. So that this was one of the new building in this village. So I tried to make one of the lowest building in this village. So this is the finishing of the area, and that inside the house there's a restaurant and the place that the people can see and enjoy the performers. And this is from outside. You can see that this pavilion or this Shima Kitchen is really lower than the neighborhood. And you can see that the cladding of the neighborhood house, same as the roof of this pavilion. And when I decide this could be a theater, I was wondering what should be the main performance of this theater. And I thought that watching that performance, watching that the local mother is cooking the local food is the best performance of this of theater. So I decided to design the kitchen as a main stage. I tried to make, I designed this open kitchen, and I asked the French chef from Tokyo to come to act like a assistant performer, so that the French chef teach their local mother that Western or international cuisine technique, But they also learn the local technique from the or local recipe from the local mothers, and they collaborate and they discover that the recipe of only you can have in this kitchen, and then they use all the ingredients only comes from this island. Fish is coming from this island, vegetable comes from island, and also that the vegetables are something that they can sell in the market. Some like a damaged vegetable they collect and they cook and they serve in this island. They can even use the skin of the vegetable for the hovel of this cuisine. So after the opening, there's a lot of people come and enjoy the food and performance together. And they really have the communication with the local people, and the local people enjoying inviting the people. Once they find the task, what they should do, they can act really nicely. So that before that art festival, they didn't know what to do. So they're really afraid of inviting people. But now they are pretty much enjoying inviting a lot of people from outside. And what really makes the people happy is there's a lot of young people coming inside the island, because most of the people living inside this island is more older than 65-year-old, and this is one of the problem in all over Japan, that the population is getting elder, and there's young people lives just inside the city, so that the countryside is the place for the old people. But because of this art festival, there's a communication between young people and old people, and there's a lot of young people decide to move into this island. So this architecture or project is getting the turning point of this island. And in the winter time, the persimmon tree is taking off all the leaves. So I decide that this building or a pavilion should take all the roofs out of the frames in winter to having the maintenance with the local people. It takes only 2 weeks to all take off all the roofs and do the maintenance and then making up again. And because of this kind of system, this kind of very light steel temporary pavilion can exist a longer time. That's what my idea, and that actually local people likes the idea very much, and they join this maintenance work in winter, and they enjoying in the change of the color of the roof every winter, or to appreciating this spring to come. But only a few weeks that the color of the roof will be really, really natural. And after this maintenance work, local people is having the ceremony of making the rice cake. This is like a very traditional Japanese ceremony of having that celebration with the neighbors. So this pavilion is making the new ceremony to these villages. And after the 6 years, and they are deciding to having that birthday party every month in this place. They inviting all the people from all the place to celebrating the birthday of this each month, so that if you are visiting this pavilion with your birth month, you will be celebrated your birthday with local people and all the guests. And now, because of this program, this pavilion is really getting used to be getting that for or used for that by the local people. And the attitude of the local people was changing gradually. The first year, they said that the congratulations for me to building the very nice pavilion. But after 3 years, they said to me that thank you very much for designing the very good pavilion for us. That's what they say. And after 3 years, they comes to me that they are very much worried about this pavilion might be demolished in few years because it looks very temporary. They ask me, they likes to keep this pavilion for a longer time and they don't know what to do. So they ask me, would you please help us to continue this pavilion to exist for a longer time, for maybe for the next generation? And so I decide to talk with the client, I mean the local government, to make me have the design of the more stronger frames or stronger long time change of this structure. And after the 3 years of my request, that the local government say yes, and to give it change of this pavilion, rebuild of this pavilion. But they asked me one request. This pavilion is so much famous now, and there are so many people comes to see this pavilion. So it should be no change for the ordinary people to recognize. So I can change this pavilion stronger, but I cannot change look like different. So it was kind of very challenging things that I actually changed the material of the roofs, different types of the timbers. Before we changed the charburned plywood, charburned wood, and it stays maybe 2 or 3 years. I find it out. So every years I have to change maybe 20% or 30% of the roofs for the new material. So I started to change this material for the another kind of the material, cypress, Japanese cypress, which is very strong. And I made it not a charbon. I made it with used to pure material, which the Japanese Shinto shrine use this material. I thought first time I didn't like to use this material because it's so like a ceremonial or so like a important, looks important. Like people would easily think about that shrine because of from this material. But after 10 years, that this pavilion was really appreciated by the local people. I thought that might be okay to use this material. So the first years I used the roof, I choose the roof material with the same as the cladding of the local people's house. But now I change this material for the same as the shrine, Japanese shrine. So after that renewal, this looks a little bit changing. I mean, I used this renewal work with the high school students of this neighborhood, and they comes to me to join as a volunteer work, and also the local people work, and we change this roof. And after the change in roof, it looks really like a gold shining. It's looked like almost like a shrine for me, and local people was really surprised of the change of the color. But after the 1 year, it's changing again though. And after that changing the roof, but it looks almost same from inside, and nobody really recognize what it changed. But actually I changed the design, all the connection of the structure, beams and piles and pillars and connections that before I used the ordinary connections, but now I make the special made connection to make it more like a strong. So the strength of this roof is like a more like a very very like stable, just like a usual architecture. And then because of this like refreshment, that I thought this pavilion was really a complete, really being an architecture. So and then a Japanese Architecture Institute was awarded this architecture as like a AIJ prize of the 2021 that we received this with this architecture. It was kind of the first time that some building after 10 years of the completeness awarded this kind of award. It was first time, but it's also changed the meaning of the architecture. You know, architecture used to be thought that was designed by architect or constructed by the contractor. But now that the Japanese Architecture Institute said that the architecture could be made by the local people, could be made by the users or made by the visitors. So this was kind of the big challenge and also big difference of the before. So it was like a really good moment for me to think about what is architecture. And this award was just awarded like a few days before. So I thought that I should talk about this architecture a little bit longer today. And this is inside the kitchen. And this is outside. You can see that the roof is getting very gray and it's almost like the same as before, and then nobody would recognize the change of the refreshment of this change of the structure. So I think I had more project. Maybe I can show you a little bit more. This is another project I designed in the very mid area of Japan, Nara. Nara is one of the ancient area in Japan. There's a lot of story about God and stories about ghost sometimes, and there's a lot of stories about those kind of story because that this area is a really mid mountain area. I mean, this is Totsukawa village it's called, and they have very important shrine inside the village also. You can see that from inside of this village you can only see the mountains. And Totsukawa village is one of the biggest village in Japan. I mean, biggest is that the size, area of the size is that it's almost same as Tokyo, but population of village is 3,500. That means the density of this village is just like an island. No, Iceland, I'm sorry. Yeah, so, and this village, the problem, one of the biggest problem is the population. I mean, the age of the people is getting very old. I mean, you can see this pink zone that average of the age of the people. I mean, that the people over the 75-year-old is 40%. So 40% of the people is over 75. And this red area, I mean, 50% of the people is over 75. And this dark area, I mean, 60% of the people is a 75-year-old. So there's a lot of old people living in this village. And most of the village, number of the people is very limited. Like this village, I mean, commune, only the 35 people living, and they live very remote. the neighborhood only they have the 10 houses, and out of 10, eight houses is empty. Maybe 2 houses people are living. So each commune, only the 2, 3, or 4 people are living, and most of the people are very old. That means that if there's a heavy rain, or if there's a typhoon, that the people are scared so much. But from edge of the village to the other edge of the village, it takes more than 3 hours to get there. And there's not such many hospitals, so and the old people need to visit the doctor, but they cannot visit the doctor so many times. So the doctors are actually visiting the old people like once in a month, or sometimes something. So, but it takes a lot of energy and a lot of time. So that there's a lot of people going out from village when they get old. They are very scared to live alone, so they move to a big town, Osaka, Tokyo, Kyoto, to visiting their children to live together. But a local government wanted to the local people to live this village until the end of their life, and that is the wishes of the old people. So we are asked to design some kind of facilities for the old people to live inside this village until their last moment. So the story is like this. The old people is living inside that house, original houses in a remote community. But when they are worried about living alone, they can come together for this, and then they can live together with other old people. That we call safety neighborhood of this village. And this safety neighborhood will work as a terminal of the medical welfare. That means that the doctors will visit this neighborhood, and old people can have see the doctors, and sometimes that if their health condition is not very good, they can come here and stay as a short stay, or people who are really old and really worried about life, they can move to this house, but they can still keep their house, and they can still visit their house like once in a week or something. So they can keep the 2 houses. So this is the facilities to be a second house of the neighbor, I mean, to be a local people. And this is a public building. This is very unique to have this to provide a second house for as a public house. Usually public house is a house for the low income people, or public house for the people who cannot have the house. But this is the house, second house for the local people, because they cannot live alone. So this is the way to survive, or a way to survive a neighborhood or a community, or this is the way to support the people to stay in this village longer time. This is the site. You can see that all the site is surrounded by the mountain and rivers, but only because this site was selected, there's a big nursery house already. So the almost all the people in this village comes to this nursery house every once in a while to having like rehabilitation, or having like a chat with the friends. So this place was really familiar for the old people for this village. So we decided to build these facilities in this place. This is the proposal of my team, that we try to design that not one big building. We are proposed to design a lot of small houses, and continue these houses with one roof to make it act as a one building. But each building could be each houses for for those old people. But one of the big house could be like community space, or living space, or active space. And that this is another view that this corridor can be used as like a farmers market or gathering space, and I put a lot of chimneys on the each house to have a high fireplace, because if there's a smoke from the chimney, that means the people's are alive or people's are okay. If there's no smoke, that the people might have some trouble. So it's very easy to recognize, and this is one of the idea I really liked very much. But after we had decided to be a designer, that the local government asked me to not to realize this chimney idea, because they are a little bit worried about that the old people to use the fire by themselves. But the other idea, this kind of the under the roof community place was kind of appreciated to the local government, and we had a lot of individual entrance that people can stay going out from the house and stay, so that the neighbors can say hello, and they can be sure that your friends are okay in the house. And this was like diagram that after we are chosen as a designer of this project, architect of this project, we decide to we have the conversation discussion with the local government. They liked our idea, but they like to change all the plans. This is the place for the activity area, and they like to have the very symbolic landscape area in the center, and they wanted to have each houses in very close to the nursing home, so it could be a very good connection between the nursing home and each house is for the old people. And also we discuss about the route of the flow, moving flow, and this blue line is the mobility flow for the car, because there's a lot of car coming to the nursing home already, so we use this road path for this new facility too. But inside this area, we also designed a new pedestrian flow for the inhabitants, and we also discuss about the keeping the old village path and making the good changing into making the design into this new facilities. And so that function was decided to have the biggest house as a community center with multi-purpose use, and the smallest houses for each all the people's house. But one house is there's two families, so they never be isolated, they never get alone. So one house is for two families, and we decide to have the one house is for the younger generation families with the children. They can be like a supporting family of the elderly people, and also the elderly people likes to have the children in their community. So that I like to design some diversity of the generation. So we decided to have the house for the younger family. And this house have some like dining space for all the people come together and have dining, like have dinner together. And so this younger family house is like a semi-public house, and they also have the public house. With this public house is also open for the people around lives in this village. And that aerial design was already designed, decided, and the center is as a symbolic garden, and we decide to design the vegetable garden in between these houses, and the connection with the nursing home, we also designed some square, and that the edges of this site will be designed as activity garden. So that the final plan was something like this, and you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses standing, and one house is for two family, and the biggest house is like a community place. the biggest room is used as a study or workshop or many kind of multi-purpose activities. And there's some small rooms that other elder people can come and short stay, or sometimes they need to have like a medical check. This small room can be used as a doctor's check, or sometime when they are passing away for the last moment, this small room can be used for the nurturing space for the last moment. So that if somebody is using this small space for the last moment, they will never get alone. There's a lot of the friends living together, and also the family can come and stay in this facilities. So we are kind of designing these facilities to try to design the last moment of the people, village people in this village. So this was like completed photos. We decided to design this corridor roof continuously to the main house, and all the shape of the house is the same, and the house it's coming from the traditional house design. So this is another angle. You can see that this is one facility, but it looks like a small village, small neighborhood. So this is what we are trying to do. And this kind of public action is very unique. You know, I already told that trying to make a public house as a second house of the village people. This is like a very first challenge in Japan. So that there's a lot of people come to see this building for the research and study. So there's a lot of students of the welfare or medical subject coming to learn that their new action, and also learn from the elderly people living in this village neighborhood. And this is at the center house that they're using that 100% of the timbers coming from this village. And you can see the big awning making space, and that this newest facilities marriage with the neighborhood. And this is the smallest room that I told that it can be used at escapes or short stay or medical check or last moment. But always you can see that the center garden that the people are gathering. This is sometimes that there's a lot of old people come and gather in this area. And sometimes they have some kind of the festival, some kind of workshop, or sometimes they selling their vegetables here. And old people really enjoying coming out of the house and sitting on the benches and talking to the people. So this is something very successful we did. And the house behind the old people, this is the younger generation family's house, and then they have biggest kitchen in front. There's a lot of students come to see. This is the vegetable garden and the little pond in between the houses. This is the house for the elderly people. We designed this one house for the two people, maybe the husband and the wife live together here. Sometimes one people live here. And they have kitchen just in front of the house, continuously to the corridor. So the people can invite the friend to the kitchen very easily. And this is the kitchen of the main kitchen of the younger generation people, and they can invite the old people and having dinner together. Sometimes they can cook together. This is a big kitchen and big table here. Of course, the design used by the local trees. And after the finishing 3 years, I visited this place and asked the people how they likes it. This is the old lady living together with other people, and they also have their house in their original house in their original community. So she said that she's visiting her original house like once in 2 weeks, and most other times. And then when she visited her original house, she stayed that house in 2 or 3 days, and she comes back this community house. I mean, safety neighborhood, and living together with the other new neighbor. And they also growing up their vegetables in a garden. And they really loves to sitting the benches and talking together. So they have really making a new neighborhood in this place. Well, I have only 8 minutes left, so I'm not sure that if I can complete my other project, but I'll try. Next project is that project in South France. There's a big national park in South France. Actually, but this national park is very new. They decide this place to be a national park in this 5 years, because there's so many people come to visit in summer times, and so they like to keep the nature of this area. So they decide to protect the nature. So they decide this area as a national park. And I saw this landscape is very, very strong and very, very beautiful. But I learned this landscape is not natural made landscape. This was used to be like a rock production area, so that people are cutting the rocks out of this area and shipping to the city, and the landscape was cut so that all this kind of strong landscape was actually the scar of the industrial moment. So there's a big swimming pool like ruin, but this is also that after the people are taking the rocks away from here. And that national park actually asks me to design the entrance of this park, this area, but I don't know what to do. It's not enough to make this architecture or some kind of gate. So I thought that I should learn something from the neighbors or inhabitants. So I started the project with having that workshop with the elementary school children, and they taught me how to do. They designed some kind of place for the saint. They said they used the logs and branches and little treatment of the landscape. So this is why I learned that well, I should not do any big things in this area. I should search a lot about from this landscape and do little touch with it, maybe plants or vegetation and a little bridge or a little maybe pedestrian. So I stay here for 3 months and research and did some design of the vegetation and the little garden, and also a change of the plants and the vegetations. Then I almost designing the garden, and I said this is gonna be a pavilion. I call this garden as a learning pavilion, and the people can come to this area and stay maybe 30 minutes and learn the history of this area. This was destroyed nature and now decide to protect nature. So they will learn how to behave inside this area, and they start getting inside the area of the national park. So I also decide not design this area, but design the whole city next to this area. This is called Kasi City, and I propose that a lot of parks inside the city that people can feel the nature. So that from inside the city, also people can feel that existence of their nature, or how they are connecting with the nature, so they can have more like an intention to the nature. So appreciating them living very close to a national park of Calanques. Then now is the moment to start to design each place of the area. This is in progress. Of course, because of the pandemic, I cannot visit in this area. So the project is kind of stopping, but this, I think, is a good moment to think deeply, or rethink about the connection between the human and nature. This is the project I started before the pandemic, but I think this is really it is really a topic of this next lifestyle. And inside this national park, I already completed one pavilion. It's called Seed Pavilion. This is a site I choose, or they choose, and there's a lot of trees in this site. And I started the design from this picture. You can see that borders from each trees or each branches, there is a clear border of each trees, and we call it crown shyness. And this is how tree or wood know themselves that that they have to collaborate with each other to have this small, but they have to have the sunlight coming through to the ground to have more little vegetation to growing up. We call this kind of the forest intelligent forest. And this is one of the perfect communication of the lives. And I thought that we should design some pavilion from this picture. So I put some kind of sketches, borders around each trees, and design this pavilion. And the national park people said, "Oh, it looks like a little seed." So we call it Seed Pavilion. I designed the little seed, and I used the 2,000 of the stainless cladding to finish this pavilion, to reflect the scenery and reflect the activities of a lot of people. Actually, this pavilion is work as a meeting place. There's a lot of activities in this national park. So each people doing each activities come into this in front of these walls, and they talk and discuss what we're gonna do inside this national park. And this is some kind of scenery in the national park. And I walk around this park with the landscape designer called Veronique Mule, and she taught me about this landscape that this is flower because of the rock. If there's no rock, this flower will not come. This will be desert. But this small rock will give a chance for the flower to bloom. So that the small rock change could be a very starting of the having a great environment. So I thought this little pavilion will be a starting of the protecting this environment. In front of this pavilion, people can discuss how they can keep this environment, how people can keep this national park. So I asked the mayor to have the public discussion in front of the pavilion, and the mayor organized the first public discussion inside this in front of this pavilion as an opening. And so I thought this is a very, very good starting of the whole project. I don't know how long this project will be last, and or it's going to be completed. But after the pandemic, I'm for sure this project will be a very good chance to rethink about what is architecture and what is the architect. So this is the finishing of my lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ryo, for your lecture. My name is Igor Łosiuk, and I have the privilege of hosting the discussion after the lecture. I encourage our viewers to submit additional questions and use this opportunity to ask some to learn more from our guest. Meanwhile, I would like to start with the question that, of course, due to the pandemic, we are connecting remotely with you being in Japan. And I was wondering about two things, with the first of it being, we spent more time indoors at home over the last year. And do you see, how did it affect, for example, the requests, the wishes of the priorities of your clients when it comes to designing homes for them?
One of the project I show you second one was the good example that the people before that the people comes to me to design some space to suitable for their lifestyle, but now people are coming to ask me to design some house to changing their lifestyle. They are kind of appreciating the changing lifestyle, or actually they are searching the lifestyle, and they are willing to changing lifestyle. That is a big change. Before the pandemic, people wants to have the place. People kind of believing their lifestyle is kind of original and nice and unique, and they need some space suitable for this lifestyle. But now it's changing. People are really searching the chance of the changing the lifestyle, especially how they appreciate outside, or how appreciate the distance or relation with the neighbors, how they like to invite the people, how they like to visit the people, how they have their real communication, because people are getting used to using the Zoom or online communication, so that offline communication is getting really important. So they are having more weight on the real communications, and that is like very big change of the designing the house, I think.
And when it comes to your work, I know that you've been traveling to Europe frequently before. Now it's not possible. I'm curious, how does it affect the exchange of knowledge and the fact that, well, you can only get to know new projects from the images on the internet. It is not possible to visit them anymore. How does it work, like, for example, in terms of the project in France that you've been working on?
Well, I really have to guess, imagine. Actually, this is only online that possible to exchange the ideas. So it's really frustrating, but well, it is time, the moment we have to really guess or imagine that how it looks like, and or I have to wait to see. So this is a moment I am kind of making my new motivation to visiting again. There's so I'm missing that friends in all over the world. I'm missing to visiting a new architecture. I'm really missing. So this kind of feeling, the missing, is getting a really big motivation. So I using this big motivation into my architecture to designing something wow to show to my friends maybe a few years later. So this is maybe that the moment that each one of the architect really deep into yourself and really rethink about your theme or your motivation or your brief, or what you think why you think you're an architect, those kind of things.
What conclusions did you come to thinking about you being an architect?
Yeah, I'm trying to be an architect, and that because of this pandemic, after experiencing this pandemic, I thought that I was some kind of architect maybe, but this is not conclusion. Maybe you really have to search something new, and I think the architect means searching new style of the architecture. That means I'm I feel like I really have to searching. So I think that maybe I can say myself as an architect now.
And did this kind of lockdown maybe make you reappreciate some of the local architecture? You've mentioned visiting, traveling more within Japan. Was there something that you've rediscovered that you'd forgotten about, or something new that you discovered that influenced and inspired you over during that time?
Yes. I'm now visiting the local villages and learning a lot from the local architecture. I mean, the traditional architecture, but not especially like very traditional, but very normal, usual architecture without architect. But I recognize how much that the Japanese architect had the influence from those kind of anonymous architecture, anonymous building. We really appreciated that a lot of techniques and the knowledge or traditions, and reflect into the new design that we Japanese architects are kind of doing that kind of things, and to try to put this kind of the knowledge into the international design. But this is now really a moment that we really recognizing that that is that kind of spice of Japanese architecture.
And we have a question from one of our viewers. After doing some research on the future inhabitants, how do you start your work? How do you match the form with the function? And does it start with sketches or models? Or maybe in general, what kind of medium do you use when designing and when working on projects?
Well, I'm still wondering. I mean, actually, during this year, I could not finish that single one project yet. Before, I mean, actually, we finished the one project last March. That was like that started before the pandemic. But then we started in March. But after that, we are still struggling with the project, and we are now having a construction moment on 2 projects. But it taking a lot of time to study, and also the clients are wondering if it's okay or not. So our project was started and stopped, and we design again and started and stopped. We design again. There's a lot of conversation and lots of like study, and also the contractor is also having a lot of time to do. So we are still. I mean, I'm really taking time for the new step.
And we, from the European perspective, know a little bit about architecture in Japan, but I guess it's never enough. So could you elaborate a little bit about, for example, the relationship between architects in general? Do you mostly compete? Can you have an architectural friend? And do you have this kind of a, for example, master-apprentice relationship that generates some cycles within architecture?
You mean generation?
Yes.
Architects, relation between architect and generation. Okay. Let's see. Well, I mean that it's connecting. I think it's deeply connecting with the problem of the of the society, and our generation. We are having some kind of problem that Japan, that the population is quite shrinking speedily, and then getting very elderly, and so the local remote area, there's a lot of community vanishing, and we're kind of thinking how we can keep those community continuous, or shall we keep those community shut down and clean up as like a natural environment. There's a lot of people thinking about those kind of things. And before our generation, like a 1 decade or 20-year older, that kind of generation architect, their moment was that how we can make the society more stronger with the more because our generation is the baby boom generation. There's a lot of population is like making double things, and Japan is upcoming from the like a third world to like one of the economically strong country. So that in this timing, there's a lot of strong theme like metabolism or of course modernism or minimalism. You know, the Tadao Ando is one of the very famous example that he used the concrete not as a structure, but I would say cosmetic, you know, meaning too, you know. So he used the concrete as a beauty. This is kind of the reflection of the society that the Japan is trying to get bigger, stronger, and what's the beauty, how we can create more like a meaning of the things. But now we are more like having the focus to the like local villages or like connection between our life and the nature. You know, there's so many culture or how to say saturation between human life and the nature life, and we are living inside this kind of circulation that of course, I mean especially life of Japan is kind of the nature friendly lifestyle. That is kind of tradition, but this we don't really care about those kind of we never thought this kind of the circulation will be will disappear, even though we do so much economic work, or we build so many building in a city, or everybody move into the city and left their country and abandoned. We didn't really care, but now our population, our generation is having more focus for more local, having more focus to more tradition, having more focus to more relation with the nature, having focus to learn that relationship with the environment, how we started our life in nature. You know, those kind of knowledge might be lost, or those kind of knowledge might be forgotten, and that old people are you know, disappearing now, and the people we maybe forgot to get the knowledge from the old people or whole generation. So we young now we are like focused to discovering their things. So I mean that or that maybe that's my own focus, but I really having a focus for discovering. Yeah.
And for example, is there an architect, a person that you've been looking up to, for example, your mentor, your kind of master that you're trying to, that have inspired you continuously during your career?
Pardon?
Do you have like a mentor or a master or someone who you look up to, who inspires you from the previous generation?
Oh yeah, of course, yes. There's so many people. you know. But most of those people are European architect, like a Louis Kahn or Anthony Gaudi, or, you know. Well, like a old architect, I really inspire those kind of.
So you are more inspired by European or American architects than Japanese. Is that right?
I don't say I'm not. Yeah, but I actually inspired those architects, but mostly that landscape project of those architects. Like for example, I really inspired by the Louis Kahn, I think, but most of the favorite project is like a landscape design with Louis Kahn and Noguchi Samu Noguchi, or maybe that courtyard of the Sok Institute or something. Not really inside the space, but outside of the outer space, or like courtyard or landscape. That kind of project really, really inspired me. So that some project of the cemetery project, those kind of things are really inspired me. So yeah, maybe that's because I'm Japanese and I'm kind of having the more like impact from those things. And I could see that that is one of the character of the Kenzo Tange. You know, he is one of the most famous Japanese one architect. And of course, I also think that I'm very much inspired. But why I think that I'm inspired from him is he has very good design of this kind of public gardens or public place, you know, for the architecture. Not only inside it, not especially outside it, or like a facade of the building. So that kind of things I'm really inspired.
And would you say there is a difference between the Western and Eastern point of view and way of designing? For example, in creating private and more open public spaces?
That I think that comes from the relationship between the nature. I mean, Europe, that the nature is very, very severe, and if you stay in outside whole day in winter, you can die. But it never happened in Japan or Asia. You can easily stay overnight in outside, even in winter, most of the place. You know that the nature is very friendly to the people, and we are based on the thought of how we can appreciate the nature. But maybe in a Europe or Western place, the thought is of the architecture is how we can survive inside the nature. So that kind of relation makes a big difference from the attitude of the architecture design, I think.
And one more question I do have, if you could tell us a little bit more about architectural competitions in Japan. I have heard that it is a quite complicated or weird process in comparison to the way architectural competitions are organized in Europe, for example.
Yes.
What's the difference?
It's very different. In Japan, there is no competition anymore. We call it proposal. That means that it's not the process of the designing the choosing the design. It's a process of choosing the architect. So we cannot actually propose that the very detailed architectural design for this proposal process. We have to show our thought or theme or our concept, and we can also put out the designs, but they have to be abstract. You know? It's very weird, and that is the excuse of the clients. They say we choose an architect. We are not choosing your design, so they can still have the request of the design for the architect. Oh, we don't like this design or something like this. And if it's competition, that means that they are choosing a design. They cannot choose the design, no? and architects have the power to keep the design or keep the thought. Once they win the competition, they can complete what they want to do. So it's more power for the architect, but the Japanese system is not that the more power for the clients. So that is most complicated things. So that they say in the rule book, they say you cannot make that detailed drawing. But you can put the abstract sketches on the proposal sheet. But you know, the most of the architect put the very realistic 3D rendering, you know, and so it's very complicated.
So does it exclude in a way, for example, young architects from the opportunity to break through using an architectural competition?
It's very difficult in Japan that when you try to join that competition, they already have some kind of the limitation of the experience of the project. You know, if you have that project very alike to that project of this competition or a proposal, and if you don't have, you cannot join. That means that the younger generation architect have no chance for that having like get into the competition usually frequently. There's a few competition or a proposal that the younger generation can join that they are intent to open for the younger generation, and so that most of the competition maybe more than 300 people join to the one small pavilion, and that it's really hard to win the proposal.
We have two final questions, with one of them being, do you go back to your previous projects? Do you see how they live on, how they, for example, evolve, how they changed?
Yeah, I like it very much. And that actually this is a moment that there's not only a few clients call me again that they need some kind of maintenance after 10 years, 15 years, or also they wanted to have the renovation of the house I designed. Like for example, one of my the ongoing project is a renovation of the house 15 years ago I designed for the house with the 3 people, couple and 1 son. But now they have 2 sons and 1 daughter. So they live in the small house in the 5 people, and they are also trying to invite their parents. So they like to live in the small house in the 7 people. So they really need the renovation. But it's so nice that they come back to me and again ask me the design again. And I saw visiting their house and see that the history, that how much they already changed the house by themselves, and it's really nice design. It's working design. They adopt their design, learning. I mean, they designed the house with children, together. So they bought a lot of furnitures and making the little spaces inside the house, and it's amazing. Oh, maybe I should have introduced that project today, but maybe next time you will see that it's published.
Okay, we will see next time. And so when you, for example, come back to the project from 15 years ago, what emotions do you have? Do you like, did you visit this project and think, oh, I did a really good job 15 years ago? Or was it more like, oh, I could have done so much better?
Well, I mean that I again think that the inhabitants have a lot of like motivation and idea for the design of the architecture. And today I showed that say that one of the project Shima Kitchen, that I said that the architecture can be designed or can be built by the user or inhabitants or neighbors. And that is also same with the house that the people, the inhabitants really can design, I think. So this project of the renovation of the house after 15 years, I will design that adding the one space, but I decide not to change the interior. I try to design that additional design, just like following their inhabitants' design, so that my design is actually influenced by the inhabitants and then changing. And I really appreciate enjoying that having a collaborate with the design of the inhabitants. So I actually changing my style of the design, I think.
Okay, and one final questions we have about your free time. How do you spend your free time? Do you get away from the projects and your work and try to reset your brain, or do you constantly look for solutions for inspiration? And how do you manage work time? Do you have a fixed amount of time during the day, or do you simply work all the time and think about architecture all the time?
Most time I cook dinner by myself, I mean, for my family. And that is a very good moment to changing the mind, you know. I go back early, like to the house, and I start cooking. And that it's also a creative time, but really different. That it takes like 1 hour or 30 minutes to cook, but we only take like 10 minutes to be finishing this. I learned how much we spending time for the creating and then finishing shortly. But it's enjoyable time for the and also changing mind. Also, I sometimes go to the sea and having surfing, or sometimes I like to going up to the mountain. And recently, I did go skiing, and like for after 30 years. When I was a child, I usually go skiing, but when I start working as an architect, I really haven't had time for the skiing. But I thought, well, maybe it's time to enjoy my life. So I decided to go for skiing. Was good time. And so gradually, I'm also trying to get my time, my lifetime again. And maybe that this pandemic was a good turning point.
So thank you very much for joining us here, Ryo, on Saturday evening in Tokyo. So thank you for your time. I encourage everyone to stay tuned for future announcements about our next lectures. Meanwhile, I'm wishing everybody a nice day and a nice weekend. And Ryo, please stay with us a little bit more. And meanwhile, we are saying have a nice day and goodbye to everyone watching us, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much. It was very nice to see you again after a few years, and it was surprising and very makes me very comfortable about this lecture. I was a little bit nervous before starting, honestly, but it's a very good moment with you. And thank you very much for everybody organizing this nice lecture, and I'm really appreciate it. And I hope that people watching this, joining this lecture also enjoyed, and that if you have a chance, please give me your opinion about what is architecture and what is architect. Thank you very much.